Welcome to the first part of Chapter 3 of Esperanza Rising. This chapter is called Las Papayas, which is Spanish for papayas. The author starts out the chapter with a quote. Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David a las muchachas bonitas. Se las cantamos aquí. These are the morning songs which King David used to sing to all the pretty girls. We sing them here to you. Esperanza heard Papa and the others singing. They were outside her window, and their voices were clear and melodic. Before she was aware, she smiled because her first thought was that today was her birthday. I should get up and wave kisses to Papa. But when she opened her eyes, she realized she was in her parents' bed on Papa's side that still smelled like him, and the song had been in her dreams. Why hadn't she slept in her own room? Then the events of last night wrenched her mind into reality. Her smile faded, her chest tightened, and a heavy blanket of anguish smothered her smallest joy. Papa and his vaqueros had been ambushed and killed while mending a fence on the farthest reaches of the ranch. The bandits stole their boots, saddles, and horses, and they even took the beef jerky that Papa had hidden in his pockets for Esperanza. Esperanza got out of bed and wrapped un shawl around her shoulders. The shawl felt heavier than usual. Was it the yarn, or was her heart weighing her down? She went downstairs and stood in la sala, the large entry hall. The house was empty and silent. Where was everyone? Then she remembered that Abuelita and Alfonso were taking Mama to see the priest this morning. Before she could call for Hortensia, there was a knocking at the front door. "Who's there?" called Esperanza through the door. "It is Señor Rodriguez. I have the papayas." Esperanza opened the door. Marisol's father stood before her, his hat in his hand. Beside him was a big box of papayas. "Your father ordered these from me for the fiesta today. I tried to deliver them to the kitchen, but no one answered." She stared at the man who had known Papa since he was a boy. Then she looked at the green papayas ripening to yellow. She knew why Papa had ordered them. Papaya, coconut, and lime salad was Esperanza's favorite, and Hortensia made it every year on her birthday. Her face crumbled. "Señor," she said, choking back tears, "have you not heard? My Papa is dead." Señor Rodriguez stared blankly, then said, "¿Qué pasó, niña?" What happened? She took a very quivery breath. As she told the story, she watched the grief twist Señor Rodriguez's face and overtake him as he sat down on the patio bench, shaking his head. She felt as if she were in someone else's body, watching a sad scene, but unable to help. Hortensia walked out and put her arm around Esperanza. Then she nodded to Señor Rodriguez and guided Esperanza back up the stairs into the bedroom. "He ordered the papayas," sobbed Esperanza. "I know," whispered Hortensia, sitting next to her on the bed and rocking her back and forth. "I know." The rosaries, masses, and funeral lasted 3 days. People whom Esperanza had never seen before came to the ranch to pay their respects. They bought enough food to feed 10 families every day, and so many flowers that the overwhelming fragrance gave them all headaches, and Hortensia finally put the bouquets outside. Marisol came with Señor and Señora Rodriguez several times. In front of the adults, Esperanza, modeled Mama's refined manners, accepting Marisol's condolences. But as soon as they could, the two girls excused themselves and went to Esperanza's bed, where they sat on her bed, held hands, and wept as one. The house was full of visitors, and their polite murmurings during the day. Mama was cordial and attentive to everyone, as if entertaining them gave her a purpose. At night, though, the house emptied. The rooms seemed too big without Papa's voice to fill them, and the echoes of their footsteps deepened their sadness. Abuelita sat by Mama's bed every night and stroked her head until she slept. Then she would come around to the other side and do the same for Esperanza. But soon after, Esperanza often woke to Mama's soft crying, or Mama woke to hers, and then they held each other without letting go until morning. Esperanza avoided opening her birthday gifts. Every time she looked at the packages, they reminded her of the happy fiesta she was supposed to have. One morning, Mama finally insisted, saying, "Papa would have wanted it." Abuelita handed Esperanza each gift, and Esperanza methodically opened them and laid them back on the table. A white purse for Sundays with a rosary inside from Marisol, a rope of blue beads from Chita, the book Don Quixote from Abuelita, a beautiful embroidered dresser scarf from Mama for someday. Finally, she opened the box she knew was the doll. She couldn't help thinking it was the last thing Papa would ever give her. Hands trembling, she lifted the lid and looked inside the box. The doll wore a fine white batiste dress and a white lace mantilla over her black hair. Her porcelain face looked wistfully at Esperanza with enormous eyes. "Oh, she looks like an angel," said Abuelita, taking her handkerchief from her sleeve and blotting her eyes. Mama said nothing, but reached out and touched the doll's face. Esperanza couldn't talk. Her heart felt so big and hurt so much that it crowded out her voice. She hugged the doll to her chest and walked out of the room, leaving all the other gifts behind. Tio Luis and Tio Marco came every day and went into Papa's study to take care of the family business. At first, they stayed only a few hours, but soon they became like La Calabaza, the squash plant in Alfonso's garden, whose giant leaves spread out, encroaching upon anything smaller. The uncles eventually stayed all day until dark, taking all their meals at the ranch as well. Esperanza could tell that Mama was uneasy with their constant presence. Finally, the lawyer came to settle the estate. Mama, Esperanza, and Abuelita sat properly in their black dresses as the uncles walked into the study. A little too loudly, Tio Luis said, "Ramona, grieving does not suit you. I hope you will not wear black all year." Mama did not answer, but maintained her composure. They nodded to Abuelita, but as usual, said nothing to Esperanza. The talk began about bank loans and investments. It all seemed so complicated to Esperanza, and her mind wandered. She had not been in this room since Papa died. She looked around at Papa's desks and books, Mama's basket of crocheting with the silver crochet hooks that Papa had bought her in Guadalajara, the table near the door that held Papa's rose clippers, and beyond the double doors, his garden. Her uncle's papers were strewn across the desk. Papa never kept his desk that way. Tio Luis sat in Papa's chair as if it were his own, and then Esperanza noticed the belt buckle. This concludes this part of Chapter 3. Please be sure to listen to the next part, which starts on the top of page 30. Thank you for listening.